killed at least 32 people. CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio has more from our London newsroom. Ramy, what are we learning about this earthquake? We saw a video this morning of young children, I guess at a school, where we could see the roof of their school collapsing. What more can you tell us?
Yes, absolutely. They were cowering in fear right in front of their school, and then we saw that rooftop fall down behind them. Putting this into context, Vlad, this is the biggest earthquake to hit the Philippines in 36 years. What were you doing in the year 1990? Because that was the last time a 7.8 magnitude quake hit the Philippines. The shaking started at about 7 a.m. local time. People were starting their day. Kids were starting to go to school. Most of the people who were killed were in buildings that collapsed, also debris falling on them, and then from a landslide that also kicked off. There you see a restaurant there, a famous Jollibee restaurant there, which is quite iconic in the country. 12 people, we understand, at this point are still missing. Authorities also checking into reports of students being trapped in a school that collapsed. Also today, it just happens to be the first day back to school for a lot of those students after the past couple months off on summer break. And part of the reason why we're seeing so much catastrophe here is because the epicenter of this quake was quite shallow and quite near the coast. 20 miles off the coast, about 20 miles deep. And you know, as quakes go, when it's shallow, there's more destruction. 3 countries around the region, Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, also reported potential tsunami. There were 2 reports of actual tsunami up to 3 feet, but no deaths or injuries reported there. And then there were more aftershocks, actually, series of them, the biggest magnitude 6.5. And right now, classes in the region are suspended. About 3 million students, we understand, have been affected by that, too.
Just terrifying moments for those students and everyone in the region. Ramy, thank you so much.
As you can see, everything looks like it's shaking. Something just fell.
Hey, Shalom Amakim, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Rule Well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noah's in the gospel, broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says Philippines, Cuba, Mexico, Venezuela, and Japan. Earthquakes in diverse places. This is a clip that the brother put up regarding the various earthquakes that's hit in different parts of the world, which we know to be judgment of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. It stood out significantly because the one that hit Venezuela, all right, especially at the, the capturing of, I think, Maduro of a few months ago. And then, you had the takeover of Cuba, blackouts, and, all these different coups and so forth that's going on in the world. And we know that Esau Edom is trying to establish more of a dominance and a hegemony in these Latin countries, which predominantly Israelites dwell. Now, when you take a place like Argentina, you're thinking of it's more like a lot of small hats down there because they've been shown to be arsonists and overthrowing a lot of the Israelites down there as well and taking over proverbial lands and so forth. But nonetheless, we're seeing that a lot of judgment is playing out on the planet Earth, and a lot of things are going unreported because there's media blackout on lots of issues that's transpiring under this devil's rule. Okay, blackouts, once again, earthquakes, purges like Cuba. I think they're still in a blackout, and they've been in blackouts off and on for the last couple of years, man. But yet there's a media blackout on those things because, Esau doesn't want us to be enlightened as to what's going on in the world. But parts of Cuba is facing, they're pretty much in Jacob's trouble. Okay, you have all types of robbery, rape, murder, kidnapping. You probably have martial law down there. And a lot of this stuff is going unreported, and all of a sudden Venezuela gets hit with an earthquake after America have sent their troops down there months ago. Something is very fishy at hand, but nonetheless, things are moving on the prophetic timeline. And, this is why we're commanded to be vigilant. All right. Because, hey, eventually things are going to start to unravel here a lot faster. And there's going to be coverage because people have cell phones, man. But anyway, let's play a little bit more. But this one said that this was an earthquake that was felt in Florida. Now, I haven't really known Florida to really get hit with a lot of earthquakes. I've known for them to get hit with like tsunamis and, you know, hurricanes and stuff like that because they off the coast, depending on what city or coastal city you're in Florida. But I never really heard them to get hit with a lot of earthquakes. Okay, places like California, Seattle, or, you know, Washington, you know, things on that western harbor gets hit with a lot of earthquakes. And even here in the Midwest, you know, Missouri gets hit from time to time because we feel tremors through Oklahoma and so forth, because all these faults are connected some form or fashion. But, you know, California seems to get hit pretty often with earthquakes, which they're predicting a big one. There was a movie that came out maybe in 2009 called, I think, San Andreas. I think The Rock played in it or something like that. And basically it had something to do with the San Andreas quake, or the San Andreas fault line erupting, which caused like a 9-point-something mega quake. Also a movie by the name of 2012 that came out maybe a decade or so ago went into it as well, when the poles shift and it caused all types of cosmic events and seismic events, and, you know, the world was plunged into chaos, man. All right, so hey, the Lord is getting ready to do something. So those of us that's in this thing, you know, just continue to watch and you know, let's report on these things, because Yahweh Shai Shai is known by the judgments which he made, which actually, that was the spirit, because I actually sent that in a group chat this morning. So let me get that real quick. This is the book of Psalms 9, and I'm going to start at verses 16. Matter of fact, let's start at verses 14. It says, nope, let's start at 13. It says, have mercy upon me, O Yahweh. Consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. And who hate us? These heathens, the 2/3 of our own people. All right. You know, the so-called white man, the Esau, which is the ultimate heathen, because this story is a play out between Jacob and Esau. It says, suffer them that hate me, that thou liftest me up on the gates of death, that I may show forth all thy praise. In the gates of the daughter of Zion, I will rejoice in thy salvation. But the heathen are sunk down in a pit, that they made, and in the net which they hid is their own foot taken. Okay, because we understand that Esau, Edom, you know, even though directly Yahweh Shai is responsible for these judgments, he put it in the mind of man to you know, do a lot of these man-made judgments, man. You know, like Esau using his technology, you know, he's using his harp, you know, he's using his weather modification, and, you know, he's sending signals into the earth to cause destabilization and causing earthquakes, man. Because Venezuela is jacked up in certain parts. It's pretty bad. All right. And that's not even a worse to come. It's going to get to a point that these cities will become totally unrecognizable because of all the damage and judgment that the Heavenly Father will bring upon it. And it says here, in the net which they hid is their own foot taken. It says, the Lord is known by the judgment which he executed. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. All right. So it says the Lord is known by the judgment which he executed. That's why people say, man, this can't be nothing but an act of Yahweh Shai, or an act of God, as the people would say, because they're not familiar with the Lord's real name. But they would say, man, this is an act of God, when they look at how devastating these judgments are. It says the wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. The wicked should be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget Yahweh Shai, man. And hey, you Venezuelans, hey, you Jakes, man, you know, you got Asher, okay, you got Zebulon, you got Naphtali, you know, you got those which goes into Central and South America, you know. Then you got Issachar, which technically Mexico is considered Central America as well, because even though you have North America, but that boot handle going down into Argentina and Brazil and so forth, those are considered Central and South Americas, man. Like Brazil will be considered South America, Mexico, and that little boot handle will be considered Central America as well, Honduras, etc. You know, Naphtali, the Argentinians, which is the tribe of Naphtali, to the Chileans. Okay, so anyway, let's play a little more.
All All right, guys, everything is shaking. I think there may be an earthquake happening in Mexico right now. I'm in Playa del Carmen. As you can see, everything looks like it's shaking. Something just fell. Nothing is above me. This has been going on for not very long, a couple minutes. A little scary. Don't know really what to do. Yeah, when I was in earthquakes in LA, they didn't last this long, so yeah, this is not an ideal situation. I think it's stopping though.
And you notice when you look at these countries, a lot of these countries are Jakes. You got a lot of Jakes in the Philippines. Got a lot of Jakes in Cali. Shit, hell, it's a lot of Jakes in the Philippines, a lot of Judites, and it's a lot of Issacharites down there. You got Cuba, Mexico, and Venezuela. Those are all Jake, man. Argentina, Issachar, and Manasseh. And right in the Philippines, you got a lot of Issacharites down there, a lot of Judites down there. In Cali, you got a lot of Northern Kingdom there and Jake there as well. Hell, you even got Judites in Japan. So remember that Lord's hand is upon you tribes too.
So I think it stopped. So yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully that's it. I don't see the pool, that rooftop pool isn't, or that rooftop pool being built isn't shaking anymore, so yeah.
A major earthquake hits a Venezuela airport.
That's pretty bad. Look how bad that is. It's like a weapon.
A major earthquake hits a Venezuela airport. We don't know if anybody has died yet and what the damage is, but it looks really bad. Make sure to subscribe and I'll keep you up to date.
A 7.1 magnitude earthquake rocking Venezuela, and separate quakes reported in California and Japan. I want to show you some of the video. We are just now getting into it. These chaotic moments on the streets of Caracas, dust filling the air after the capital there in Venezuela felt that intense shaking. You see people walking around, some of them looking confused. A baseball game coming to a halt. People running for safety. You see the light fixture up there swaying. People running for safety to the center of the field. Just hours before that, we saw a 5.6 quake hitting Northern California, knocking shelves of food to the ground. We're also following a 6.9 quake in Japan with tsunami advisories in effect there. There's a lot going on, lot to watch. We've got Bill Karen standing by. But I want to start with Aaron Gilchrist joining us now, because it seems that the most significant of these is the one that just happened late today in Venezuela. Aaron, what do we know about the possibility of any injuries, about how people are doing there?
Less than an hour ago, this happened, Hallie, and at this point, there aren't any reports about any serious injuries or any major damage having happened here. But obviously, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake is a major earthquake, and this was one that happened a little after 6 o'clock Eastern time, apparently in the northwestern part of Venezuela. So putting it very much near the coast of Venezuela, the Caribbean coast of Venezuela. There are reports that there could have been some of the shaking felt in parts of Colombia, and as you've been saying, this video that we're seeing now out of the Caracas area, which is more than 100 miles away from where we believe the epicenter of this earthquake was, and still we see the shaking. You see people who felt that shaking running into the streets, getting reports about buildings with cracks potentially in some of these buildings. We've been hearing reports about bottles being knocked off of shelves in stores in this area, and obviously people very much concerned about their safety, running into the streets, trying to get to safe spaces, potentially to open spaces in case there were any buildings that might collapse. And again, at this point, An hour after this earthquake happened, we are not getting any reports about any buildings that have collapsed or seen any major damage or any reports about people having been injured. Hallie, there are alerts that have been posted by the National Weather Service in this country about the potential for tsunamis in this area. An earthquake of this magnitude near the coast could potentially send waves to neighboring
Yeah, man, that's kind of scary. Just imagine when the earth beneath you is shaking like crazy. You have no control because the earth literally turns into liquid form. You know, they show you that, man, the Lord, he's badass because he can literally change your world within minutes. You know, you go from prosperity to poverty, like the Lord said, that a time of prosperity, when one goes into poverty, he not remember the days of prosperity, roughly paraphrasing. It says like within an hour, he don't even remember the prosperity. You know, I forgot how it's quoted, but it's in the Apocrypha somewhere. I'm not going to get it. But it goes into how when you have riches and then you return reduced to poverty, and within the hours, you don't even remember that you weren't even up. You know, that happened in Egypt, you know, when the Lord brought the plagues on those Egyptians and so forth, the famine. You know, when the Heavenly Father brought the famine on those Egyptians, and then, you know, hell, 7 years of plenty is made 7 years of famine made the 7 year of plenty look like child's play. You know, and they forgot that they even had plenty is because the famine was so sore. Same thing here, you know, you have prosperity, which Venezuela was already sinking anyway because of the oil and all that other stuff, and America pretty much owns them for the most part. And you know, Maduro allegedly wanted to do deals with, I believe, like China, if I'm not mistaken. But yet, you know, they was cut out of the deal. So therefore, you know, Trump went in there and he took what he needed to take. All right. Let's go here to the book of Luke 21. Because people are perplexed right now, you know. So this is the book of Luke 21:10. It says, then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes should be in divers places, and famines and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs should that be in the heavens. Yeah, they was talking about some quack prophetess, some psychic lady. I don't know if she was from one of them Latin countries, maybe in Argentina or Venezuela, one of them, but she was predicting that 700 people will be abducted by so-called alien spaceships about mothership during the time of one of these soccer games, man. I don't know which one. I came across a post, really didn't care to look too much into it. But she was predicting that aliens were going to come and abduct people, right? But then we also know that Esau's experiment with not, I won't say, you know what a projector is? Not like projection, like projecting something from somebody, but like, you know, you got those projector monitors that relay images and they kind of mirror images of other things like Project Bluebeam. And we understand that some degree Esau is looking to stage some type of fake alien invasion to mimic the second coming of Yahweh Shai. But we understand that, you know, things must come to pass before that can happen. So you see so-called aliens and big ships abducting people before the missiles drop, then you know that that's not Yahweh Shai. That's what the scriptures tells us in this very same chapter, actually in Matthew as well, that if they say, look, there go the Son of Man, lo, believe it not. Or he is over there, believe it not. Because we understand that Esau, it says that if he was able to deceive, possible to deceive the very elect. So it's impossible to deceive the elect, man. You know, wheresoever they may be, Lord's will, we're part of it. You're not going to deceive the elect because we understand the breakdown. So if you see these big ass aliens and shit and abducting people and all this other stuff, that's all cap. But yet there's going to get a stir out of this world. And people are going to bug the hell out because they don't understand what's happening according to prophecy. You know, but brothers going to be like, yeah, that's some bullshit. Because we know, man, but when Yahweh Shai comes back, you're going to know without a doubt. But nonetheless, Esau's attempt to alien invasion, that will be an interesting sight to see how he's going to pull this off. You know, but we'll see. But it says, famines and pestilence and fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Let's go down here to verses 20. Let's start at verses 22. It says, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things are written may be fulfilled. But warning them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there should be great distress in the land and wrath upon these people. Okay. It says great distress in the land. And we're saying that Jake is getting perplexed. Even the heathen, they're getting perplexed. And it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and should be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem should be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which proves that those small hats are the tiny tops in our land. Those are not the people. All right. It says here, and there should be signs in the sun, solar eclipses. Then, we got lunar eclipses, 3 different rainbows popping up at once. The weather's been crazy. I think last year, maybe in October, they had something called the Northern Lights. What looks like, all types of phenomena has been happening on the planet Earth that goes unreported. And it says, and the moon and in the stars and upon earth distress of nations with perplexity. When somebody's perplexed, that means they're in a state of disarray. Right? These people are literally on edge, man. And this is why they're rushing out day in and day out to try to go make ends meet, because they're trying to save up for a rainy day. But all is going to fail. And it says, and looking after those things which are coming, it says perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. And the power should be shaken. Okay, people are going to have heart attacks, man. Okay, if Esau is successful with staging off this Project Blue Beam, because there's several different reports on how he may do it. In reality, we don't know how he's going to pull it off. Even if they do that, we don't really know. But the scriptures do go into how Esau will possibly try to deceive the very elect. So just imagine if they're projecting things off the sky, the atmosphere, that looks to be something unnatural. Just alone, people that have certain health issues can suffer strokes and heart attacks because, this is something that's out of a sci-fi movie, man. So, hey, you can't put nothing past this devil. Last precept, and I ended 2nd Esdras 9, and I'm going to start at verses 1. And it says, and he answered me and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. It says, therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, we're seeing both. Okay, if you look up the, what is it called? The geological something survey or something, it's like a website that shows you all the earthquakes around the world. You like, goddamn, there's a lot of earthquakes, man. People bugging out. I mean, shit, look what happened in Venezuela. And it says, and thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like all that is made in the world had the beginning and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. All right, so we're seeing it. And it's just going to intensify prior to the second coming of Yahweh Shai. So with that, call Allah Yahweh Yahweh Shai. Lord's will you edify to the next lesson. Shalom.
Islands into the Caribbean Netherlands, into Aruba. There are reports about advisories at least being posted for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands to be on the lookout for potentially tsunami waves. Hallie.
Aaron Gilchrist, we'll look to see if we get more video coming into us, too. I know our teams are on top of that.
News.
Aaron.
3 separate earthquakes in 3 countries today, including one here in the United States. The most recent tonight off the coast of Venezuela. 2 back-to-back earthquakes, magnitude 7.2 and 7.5. They struck about 100 miles west of Caracas. This is video of search and rescue crews going through collapsed buildings there. People describe buildings swaying and walls collapsing. Some areas lost cell phone service, so calling for help or calling family members is difficult. Right now, the airport is closed, and at this point, no updates from the government on the number of injuries or fatalities. Another earthquake tonight struck Japan. This one had a magnitude of 6.9. A camera was rolling and shaking as that earthquake hit. It struck off the coast of Honshu, which is Japan's main island. There have been strong earthquakes recently in the area. There are no reports of any injuries or damage in Japan, and officials say there is no danger of a tsunami. And we have new video of an earthquake today in Northern California. The epicenter near the town of Willits, about 140 miles north of San Francisco. Thousands of people left without power And authorities encouraged people to stay off the roads so emergency crews and workers could get by. There were reports of some people injured.
Earthquake slams. Breaking news, an earthquake slams Northern California. ABC 7 Eyewitness News is live in Mendocino County, where thousands are currently without power, some without water, and there's widespread damage, but it all seems to be minor. And we have new video just into the newsroom showing you the moment that 5.6 quake hit. It did have good shaking, and of course you see some bottles fell off store shelves. It first registered as a magnitude 6, but look at the shaking. It has since been downgraded to a 5.6. With that, we say good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kristen Z.
And I'm Karina Nova. The quake was centered near Willits, which is north of Ukiah. There have been at least a dozen aftershocks. ABC 7 Mornings anchor Liz Byro joins us live in studio with a look at the damage. Liz?
Yeah, Kristen, Karina, I mean, that epicenter, like you said, is in a relatively unpopulated area in Willits, but we are hearing this was felt in varying degrees across the Bay Area. You're going to hear Drew say it. Reports in Sonoma, Walnut Creek, all the way down to San Jose. I do want to show you a photo that was sent in for a viewer. This is from Renee Morgan. I mean, look at everything on this shelf. Plates, cans coming crashing to the ground. Another image showed this very heavy speaker inching towards that ledge. I also want to show you now a live picture from the grocery outlet in Willits. There is a heavy police and fire presence in the area. Our crews on scene reporting that back to us. This is just one of several grocery stores shut down. We know there is no power in this plaza. When we pan over, you're going to see again, no one going in and out. This is closed. A Lucky's is closed. A Safeway is closed. I do want to give you a look inside now. Things knocked off the store shelves when you walk through. Look at that on the right side of your screen as crew members, team members work to clean this up. We know power is out for the entire community, as I said. Now here's some more video we just sent into our newsroom. Wait for that shake to hit. Boom. There it starts going. Things crashing to the ground. Shows that shaking at this is at Upper Lake Grocery in Lake County. Just a lot of images like this coming into our newsroom. We've also been talking to a lot of people throughout this morning. We cut into broadcasting this morning and spoke with Greenwood Ridge Fire Chief Artie Beacon. Take a listen.
This is a wake-up call for Northern California. We need to wake up from our sleep and get a little more seismically prepared for something that might happen downrange.
Right, you hear Chief Beacon sharing that warning. This is a wake-up call for NorCal. We are also hearing reports of no water and no power. I'll have all of those updates in the next half hour. Kristen, Karina.
All right, Liz, thank you. We know how to prepare for an earthquake, but are you ready? You can get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. If you need help, check out abc7news.com/prepare-NorCal.
Yeah, it's only a relief that it's in a relatively unpopulated
of Willits. Since that first earthquake at 8:10, we've seen dozens of aftershocks. Right now, currently 40 aftershocks in the region. The maximum magnitude so far of those